Hey, family, this is Philip Suba, your empowerment life coach, and welcome to another session. Let's go. Yo, so welcome back. I am always excited to be in your space at whatever time you're listening to this and be able to share thoughts and have conversation about relevancy as it relates to our life, our development, our going forward progressions and movements and changes and shifts and transitions and all of the above. So let's get down to the conversation today. If I haven't told you already, Happy New Year. We are well into it. Let's talk. So, with all of the transitions of seasons, I think it's important, and you've heard me say this before if you are a frequent listener to the sessions. I'm a frequent, I often refer to reflections. Whether it's reflections every month, at the end of every month, at the beginning of every month, if it's reflections after, different events. I'm just an advocate for reflecting in life, and especially when we talk about the transition between the old year and the new year coming in, different changes that we have in our lives, new jobs and old jobs, and new relationships and old relationships, whatever that may be. I am a heavy advocate for reflecting because I believe that self awareness is the missing ingredient to success. I believe a lot of people are living in the normalcy of life and the routines. They're being commanded by the external expectations. And because of that, they're blinded to their own inabilities and abilities. They're blinded by everybody else's opinions because they have failed to actually stop and examine themselves and reflect on themselves and where they are and how they feel and where have they developed, where have they grown, and how things are as it relates to the environment that they're in. Is it beneficial for them, right? I think this is important to do this on a frequent basis. Many times, if we are not in a place where we're reflecting, we're ignoring. I think that's worth repeating. When we choose not to reflect, we choose to ignore. And I realize to some that may be controversial, that may be a debatable statement. But for the most part, the decision not to reflect, not to examine, is a decision to ignore, quite plain and simple. And oftentimes, when we begin to ignore and we choose not to reflect, we miss out on opportunities that are right before us. And those opportunities may be opportunities to grow and aspire, to change course, to change direction. It's important that we do that. You can never measure your progress or the lack thereof if you do not reflect on where you are as it relates to where you're going, your goals, your vision, your values, your virtues. So it's important to reflect. So if you found yourself at the time that you're listening to this session, if you are in a place where you're so caught up in life that everything is moving 1,000 miles per hour and you have found yourself not really the haven't stopped to evaluate the decisions you're making, what's going on around you, what's going on inside of you, I encourage you to do it. Matter of fact, maybe pause the session and take a moment and do some breathing exercises and feel where you are. What is your body saying to you? What is your mental capacity saying to you? Are you foggy or are you sharp in your thinking? Are you forgetting? dates and times and appointments? And do you feel discombobulated? Do you feel like everything's just rush, 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 rush? Because it's important for you to stop and reflect. It's absolutely important. It's vital to your success, your development, and it actually has an impact on how far you go before you burn out or if you burn out. This is absolutely important. So, what I want to talk about today is the necessity of redirecting your energy, redirecting your time, and redirecting your focus. Many times, we're so quick to dismiss people, dismiss relationships, dismiss tasks, and say no to this, no to this. I can't do this, I can't do that as it relates to our capacity. And I get it because things can feel overwhelming, and sometimes you have to set those boundaries. Not sometimes, but it is important that we set healthy boundaries in our life so that we can remain effective, so we can remain in control of the things that we are meant to control as it relates to our time and our schedule, our energy, our mental capacity, right? Our spiritual capacity, our emotional capacity. It is important for us to set those boundaries, but I want to dig a little deeper that before we start to add different things in our lives and just automatically just say no to things in our lives, that we examine the current things in our lives. Because what I realize is that with the newness of transition right now, as I'm recording, we're in the beginning of 2024, new year. And so you may be listening to this at the beginning of a new year, a beginning of a new month, wherever you are. I guarantee you that you are at a new beginning, even if the new beginning is the beginning of a new day that you've never seen. It's a new job, it's a new relationship, it's something new in your life, it's a new opportunity that's representing itself, right? And I know that sounds contradictory, but sometimes the old opportunities seem to repeat themselves. But really, the old opportunity was just a marker for you. This new opportunity has represented itself in a new fashion, in a new way. There's something new in that opportunity. And the newness may not necessarily be the opportunity, the newness is within you. Maybe you're more situated, maybe you're more mature, and you're more equipped and ready physically, mentally, spiritually, emotionally, intellectually for this opportunity as to where previously you were not. There's something that has transpired, and in this moment, there is newness in your life. My challenge to you: find the newness. Because sometimes we dwell so much on the old that we ignore the newness of the opportunities that are right in front of our face, the newness and the freshness of the doors and the privileges that we currently have, because we're so focused on what used to be and what was that we ignore and are blinded by our own reluctancy to just take a moment and stop and pause and reflect that, hey, this is where I am currently. And where I am currently is not asking me about yesteryears. Where I am and what I am facing currently is asking me current questions about what I am going to do now. I think that's worth a pause. So here we are, two things: reflecting, right? And then two, recognizing the significance of where you are, the newness of where you are. And I realize that some things may not have changed. And here's the question: if it hasn't changed but needs to be changed, why is it the same? hmm It's a really good question that only you can answer. The reason why I say only you can really answer that is because I can give you the explanations. I can walk you through it. But at the end of the day, you have to agree with that. You have to agree with the truth of whatever that reality is. You have to agree with it, and you have to begin to put action with it. No one can do that for you. You can only do that for yourself. The old saying, you can lead, You can lead a horse to water, but you can't make him drink it, right? Metaphorically speaking. So there's a need for us to stop, pause, and reflect. There is the need for us also to recognize in the reflection the new beginnings and the newness of where we are, our current standings. One of my favorite scriptures in the Bible says that thy word is a lamp unto my feet and a light unto my pathway. A lamp unto my feet shows me where I am currently standing. The light unto my pathway shows me the direction in which I am to go. I think that's important for us to consider in this conversation today because oftentimes transitions calls for you to change your focus, redirect your focus, and sometimes it calls for you to add things to your life that was not previously there. It brings about something new that wasn't previously there. And sometimes that can seem overwhelming. It can also seem to be impossible. But the purpose of today's conversation is for you to revisit that and consider what areas or what agendas, what activities, what habits, what relationships in your life have served their purpose, but you're still giving your time, energy, and effort to it as if it has not served its purpose. And when I say served its purpose, I mean you no longer need it. You no longer need to give that much time and attention and focus to those things. The season and the timing for you to give so much focus and attention to those things and those particular areas in your life is over. The newness of what is before you and ahead of you is requiring you to refocus. It is causing you to, the word I want to use is redirect. Redirect your time, redirect your energy and your efforts, your emotional capacity. There is some redirection that is needed. When you realize what you're focusing too much on excessively, then when you make the decision to discontinue that, you find yourself freeing up capacity now to put that focus and that intensity and that energy into something or whatever it is that you need for the season that you're in, the current season that you're going to, as you're moving forward. It's all about progression. And I think about that sometimes because, or more so in this year, I think about that because oftentimes with the newness of years and the changing of seasons, any shift in our lives, it's always about what are you adding to your plate? Okay, now I got to do this. Now I got to do this. Now I got to do this. And sometimes we can add, and never realize that we're adding necessary things on our plate without removing the unnecessary things on our plate. I really believe that that's important because in this world, if we don't stop and reflect, if we don't recognize, then we will burn out. We'll burn out. And we won't be able to take on and address the things that are needed for us to address because we're occupied all of our time and energy on things that aren't relevant anymore. And trust me, I'm not an advocate for dismissing people and writing people off every year and saying that they're no longer in tune with your purpose. No, I believe that people are priceless, and I don't believe that we should treat people like we treat product at a grocery store and say that, hey, I don't need you anymore. But what I do believe, the balance of that it is important for us to understand that in maybe in the past seasons, this relationship was vital for me to pour a lot of time and attention into. And in the past, maybe this habit I needed to really, really get it and develop it. I really had to get my time and attention on building this portion or establishing this part of my business. Well, if we've done it like we should have, then now we should be able to get to a place where, okay, this is stabilized, this is running. So now I don't have to engage in it so much. I should be able to simply just every now and then check in with it, check in with it, check in with it. And now that intensity, all of that energy that I had in the development and the building and the cultivating of that, now I can put that into the next thing in my life that I need to build and to cultivate. And that's going to ask for my energy. That's going to require my energy so that I can get the progression that I need. So I'm not saying that you should discard people, but what I'm saying is that you should know how to manage things and allow it to be sustainable so that you can continue to progress in the areas of your life that are needed. See, there's a season where you spend a lot of time teaching your children how to potty, right? You teach them potty training. You teach them how to talk. They're formulating their words. You're helping them learn how to walk, right? You're helping them get dressed. And then there's a season where you don't teach them. You're not worried about if they use it on themselves. You're not worried about if they get up on time and if they dress themselves because you've already put the time and the effort and the energy to get them to that place of development to where you no longer have to invest in that. Now you're reaping the harvest of it. They're doing it on their own. Now you can focus on other things, right? And that's how life should be. Using that as an analogy, your life should be that way. You should not be spending overtime, OT, overtime. You should not be spending excessive amounts of times trying to sustain something that cannot be sustained. That's a heavy statement. Over investing in areas where clearly there is no return. Giving ourselves extensively to things that we should be giving ourselves to minimally. Because in the next season or in this current season, I know we say, you guys know I'm I'm in church, and the church, everything is, you hear a lot of preachers and pastors say, in this season, in the next season of your life, God's going to do this. Well, I do believe that life consists of seasons, not just externally as it relates to the weather, but our lives. They're in seasons. Spring represents new beginnings, and we've talked about this in previous podcasts, and I encourage you to go back and listen to it. We talk about the seasons of our lives and seasonal transitions. I did a couple of sessions and as it relates to seasons and different conversations surrounding seasons. I do believe that that there in our lives there are seasons, and I believe that in those seasons it requires for us to shift and redirect our focus every time there is a redirection. And I believe it's important wherever you are at the time that you're listening to this. I want you to understand that you're listening to this is not by happenstance. It's not a coincidence. In the Greek, there is no such thing as coincidence. Everything is purposely planned and intentionally laid out. You're walking in the pathway that you should be walking in. There are things that are specifically assigned to you, lessons that we are specifically meant to learn. You are listening to this particular session because it is meant for you. And the lesson in this particular session is that you would understand that there are some areas that you have been overly investing yourself in, and now it's time for you to pull back so that you can reinvest that same energy and passion and effort and timing into something that is going to be more beneficial for you right now. You're going to have to redirect your time. You're going to have to redirect your attention because everybody's saying, oh, if I had more time, if I had more time. No, you're over investing your time somewhere where it shouldn't. If I had more energy, if I had more energy, well, maybe because there's something in your life that you're giving energy to that's really depleting you. It's depleting you of your energy. It's depleting you of your creative ability. It's depleting you of your confidence. It's draining you, but you keep feeding it even though it's draining you. You keep giving it your attention because even though it's draining you. And the things that are meant to replenish you, you don't have time for. The things that are going to revitalize you, that are going to help you with your creativity, that is going to help you with your ingenuity, the things that are going to help you build the business, the things that are going to help you network, the things that are going to help you sustain your marriage and cultivate intimacy, the things that are going to help you as it relates to the important relationships in your life, the things that are going to that helped you as it relates to the values of your life, those things you don't have the time for, you don't have the effort for, you don't have the energy for, you don't have the capacity for, you don't have the emotional capacity for, because you're overly invested in something. Find out what that over investment is. Maybe you're putting your money in a direction that is no longer feasible, no longer valid. It's not bringing you the return. It's not bringing you what you need. It's doing more depletion than it is adding. It's doing more subtracting than it is adding to your life. It's important for us to find out what that is so that we can make the appropriate decision to redirect those resources to that which is going to be beneficial for you now and in your future. Listen, if I was in church, I'd tell somebody, tell your neighbor, this is my season to build. This is my season to restructure. This is my season to reevaluate where I am. And if need be, let me change the strategy to get to the goal. Let me change the strategy. Let me change the method. Don't be so married to the strategy and so married to the method that it keeps you from ultimately getting to the goal. The goal is what you're going after. The methods may change, but you've got to be able to stop and reflect. You got to be able to recognize, right? So that you can make the appropriate decision and redirect as needed. For some of us, life is waiting to give you opportunities that you don't have the capacity to receive, not because not because the opportunity is too much, but because you're giving too much to something that is not beneficial. Something in your life that you're over gifting your time to. There is reciprocity. There is reciprocity in relationships. There is reciprocity in the endeavors in which we give ourselves to. Like there's something that we should reap out of that. It should be beneficial to us, and that is not a selfish thing. There is some benefit when you release your time, your effort, your energy, your emotional capacity. There should be a harvest from that. And if you are sowing into anything that is not bringing forth a harvest, then your sowing needs to be redirected to more fertile ground. hmm Maybe we need to be more invested in the watering and the cultivating of that soil. Maybe we need to be more invested in protecting it from being overheated. Find out what that is. And you will only find out when you pause. And sometimes pausing can be a challenge because we're driven by the demands of other people more so than we are driven by our desire to fulfill the purpose for which we exist. The desire, right? The desire to live beyond the immediate gratification of the moment, the desire to live beyond the expectations of other people, the desire to live in purpose, on purpose. So, as you proceed to move forward in life, don't be afraid to redirect your resources. Don't be afraid to pause and reflect and see where you are. Don't be afraid of the truth that you begin to recognize. Don't be afraid of it. Embrace it. And don't be afraid to redirect because sometimes redirection means I have to back off of something that I thought, or I have to back away from something that I thought would always be there. And sometimes you have to say, my time and my season for this particular task, this particular job, this particular career, whatever it may be, this particular relationship, it's over. And you'll know it's right when the redirection is good for you and for others. It's not a selfish, just for me, about me. No, it's a healthy redirection because your movement produces movement in other people, and your stagnation becomes the glass ceiling that limits other people. So let's move. Let's examine. Let's redirect. And let's do it in love and soundness of mind. Listen, I hope this particular session has been a blessing to you, a strength and a source of empowerment to you. I ask that you would share this, leave a comment, let me know how it blessed you. I'll see you next time. We'll talk.